We're live. Hey, we're live. Hey, check this out, people. We wanted to do a special edition here, real quick. This is, when we talk about that backpack, right? And you having the necessary tools, if you will, information, education, knowledge in that backpack that's going to help you get home. Because remember, at the end of the day, whatever the situations, circumstances, or interactions that you're having, you want to make sure that you are getting home. We're not going to take up too much of your time, right? But we believe that it's imperative, it's vital that we kind of weigh in on what's happening here in our own backyard, especially as Mr. Banks is seeking election for Hennepin County Sheriff, and me being part of his team, and we wanting, the community to be part of this winning team. It's extremely important, as we always say, that we have to not only have a plan, but we have to be able to follow up and follow through and be able to have a fix with this plan. And we understand that things appear to be extremely chaotic, very frustrating, things of that nature. But Brother Joe, if you will, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want you to be extremely specific and very informational in regards to what is kind of going on, right? And how does our law enforcement entities kind of play a part, and what is truly the fix to all of this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we have to understand is this is a time when we have to work together. Both community and law enforcement are working together to bring about this fix. Now, there's some confusion because, of course, there's been some bad actors out in the street when it has come to some of the ICE agents, and some of the things that they have done have been pretty much questionable. But it's important that we understand that everybody has a role to play. And so it's important that the community are great witnesses like they're doing, but as well as understanding that we need to organize and approach our legislative leadership with plans to fix this. We know that we do immigration year round, but we need to do it a little bit better in what we're doing.
Really quick, and because I want to get this in, I know we only have a short period of time, but you had stated earlier, you had referenced Dr. Martin Luther King and his plan, and how not only he had a plan, but how to also carry it out. Can you quickly kind of correlate the two and kind of put it together, so then therefore maybe our audience can have a little bit more understanding?
Yeah, like I said, Martin Luther King did have a speech called the Blueprint Speech, and it was all about having a plan, a framework of kind of what it looks like to be when it's finished. And I think that is important that not only we organize, but we do have a plan in place that includes a solution to fixing that problem. And so it's important that not only do we organize, but that we identify and solve this problem. We can't afford to come away from this one without a legitimate fixing. And so that's something that we as a community of both law enforcement and citizens have to come up with. Understand constitutional law, understanding what your rights are, and understanding how to bring about change within the laws that are being enforced in your community.
And this is when we're talking about that those that have come from the community and have, I guess, if you will, made it out, so to speak, or just made it to a level to where they're able to kind of come back to the community and be able to teach these classes or educating people on, constitutional law and other various different areas to help individuals know how to write a bill and get that bill into law. And you said it numerous times, is that change comes from
within the people.
And this is why we, the people, like no time ever, now is the time for us to get involved. The marching and the mobilizing and, the rallying and the having your First Amendment, heard, and things of that nature. That's all fine and dandy, but it's like we're splinters.
Right.
We're not working together to ensure that at the end of the day, that we are truly better. We're truly stronger. And it's we don't want when um, ICE or our federal entities kind of leave Minnesota, we don't want everyone to just kind of go back to their own individual thing. We still want to be able to bring these individuals and these entities, both, community, local, state, etc., and still have a plan and a fix because this what's going on right now is going to have an impact on us for some years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely affecting the entire nation. So it's important that we organize properly. Now, we've brought great attention to some of the bad actors that are out there doing what they're doing while performing their job. The next thing is the fix. So we need to organize. We need to get some lawyers that are coming together, having some community clinics to educate people on what their constitutional rights are or what their rights are, period, of just being even an immigrant in the United States of America. We also need to have some organizations that are grassroots organizations that are already out there involved, educating people so they understand what those rights are. Simple things like knowing whether or not warrants can be done, like a warrantless arrest, right? So in order for them to arrest you on a warrantless arrest, you make sure that they understand that, unless they have firsthand knowledge that you're illegally here, and that you're trying to abscond, and there's no reason to arrest you. Secondly, if they're at your house, asking them simple things like, is this an administrative warrant? Is it a judicial warrant? Because they different warrants have different authority, right? The administrative warrant is written by someone from the ICE supervision staff, right? It does have some jurisdiction, but it doesn't allow them to get inside your house. You can refuse them. If you have a jurisdictional warrant, then it's a different situation, and it's been signed by a judge, and of course you need to comply. So understanding what your rights are, they need to identify themselves properly. They need to tell you kind of if you are under arrest, and what the reasoning for that arrest is. And so, like I said, it's important that people remain calm while asking these questions. Don't be combative, get clarity. Also, be caring information so that you can communicate with family members and friends so they know how to get in touch with you. And also, we should be educating people on what that process looked like. So what does it mean when someone gets arrested by ICE, where they're being taken to, how do folks find out about their family members, and what is that process once you're in custody? So you know that, you're either going to get deported, you can ask a judge for a hearing, right? Or you might need a writ of habeas corpus. And so it's if you don't really understand that, it's important that you understand those terms,
Absolutely.
so that you know how to get yourself out of custody and back on the street.
Two things real quick. I know some of the stuff that we're talking about, it seems like, oh yeah, that all sounds great if it's a perfect world and, things of that nature, but, they don't care. They're just doing whatever and so on and so forth. Number one, that's why it's very important for you to continue to have a plan and talk to your friends and family and other different resources and services. So then therefore, when something happens, you will know what your rights are, right?
Yes.
Do not, I want to say this, do not, I'm going to say this again, do not allow yourself to get caught up in individuals that's, on various platforms of social media, and they're live and they're yelling and they're screaming and they're pumping their fist up and they're talking about, come on down and all this other type of stuff. Know your role, know the outcome that you're looking for. And hey, if you feel or believe that you need to go down there and be part of the protest and, have your First Amendment rights heard and things of that nature, great, go do it. We're not saying don't do it, but what we are saying is make sure that if you choose to do that, that you're well within your rights. So then therefore you don't find yourself in a situation that's going to be extremely unproductive for you. And you don't have to be, if you will, an illegal immigrant,
Correct.
to find yourself in trouble, you can be a citizen and still find yourself in some legal consequences if you kind of cross that line.
Yeah, and I understand there's a difference between Border Patrol and Homeland Security and FBI. So a lot of these agents are been forced to kind of combine, if you would. And so, there's some confusion even on their part as to what they should and should not be doing. So this is why it's important that our legislative leadership really get involved with the community and put together a bill to change some things. Now, I'm going to say this, and it may upset some folks, but at some point, there may be necessary for our legislators to put together and bring a petition to do a cease and desist in federal court on enforcement of ICE temporarily until we can get things under control, because we don't want to stop our guys from making sure our borders are safe and doing immigration enforcement. But we do want to make sure that it's been done safely, properly, and we do not want to be in a situation where we're harming United States citizens or immigrants, because their overall goal is to safely gain compliance with United States law. And so that's what we want to do, but we want to seek to do that safely. Right now, we're just in a situation where it's immediate chaos everywhere and complete fear and trauma. And so we don't want to continue to traumatize our citizens. So I'm going to ask that our political leadership, no matter what party you're from, take the time to sit down and organize proper education of folks so that they have some place to go to get resources. They have some place to find out what the process is and what the rights are throughout this process. I think, in speaking with quite a few people, I think it's a clear understanding that everyone's afraid that once you're in ICE custody, they kind of disappear you and nobody knows what happens afterwards. And having the last couple deaths that they've had occur and the shootings that occurred has only heightened a sense of fear in people who are not from the United States of America. And so, as we all know, our country is founded on the ability of people coming in, immigrating into the United States and making America strong. And we're all here together to keep America in a position of being strong and healthy and free. And so that's what I want to make sure that people understand, that education is the key and it's the pathway of fixing this. And we also want to be able to create a situation where people who need to turn themselves in or who want to self-deport can do that process by getting their affairs in order, communicating with people to make that happen safely. So again, we just want to try to calm down the fear in the community and to prepare people to be safe when dealing with these ICE agents. Again, remember, stay calm. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Try to answer the questions as calm as possible. Have proper identification on you that identifies who you are. And even if you feel like they're not listening to you or honoring your identification, let's get through the process so that you're safely transported to wherever they're going to take you, safely and healthy, right? Because there's no need for you to be in the hospital or dying simply because of a civil situation, right? Let's get you where you need to be safely so that you can get back home as soon as possible with your family and they can see you back again in good health.
Absolutely. I want to say a couple things here real quick, because this is a short special episode segment here that we're kind of putting together. Number one, there's still a lot, and I do mean a lot, of fabulous officers, men, women, local, state, federal, et cetera, throughout the country that put on that uniform, that put on that shield each and every single day, and they go out in their communities and they're doing fabulous work. So please do not bunch everyone together just because their shirt may say police or sheriff or, whatever the case may be. Again, this is the time that we kind of need to work together.
Yes.
Secondly, for the individuals that are more of your Hispanic descent or your Somali descent, if you will, to where all of the focus is kind of going right now. Even for your jobs, I know that there's a lot of people that are kind of afraid to kind of go out, kind of go to work. There's been changes made, within employment and things of that nature, that employers are kind of making exceptions for. Um, just make sure that you're still able to pay your bills and things of that nature, because those things are not stopping. You
Right.
still have to make sure that you're able to kind of take care of your family and still place yourself and your family in a situation to where you're not going to be accosted, right?
Yeah.
Um, I know that we only have a couple minutes left, but I just wanted to say before we get out of here, as we are seeking election for Hennepin County Sheriff, so then therefore we can have a lot more input, impact on the overall outcome, for everyone involved. And I know that, November seems to be, a long ways away, since we're just kind of breaking off into 2026. But before you know it, November is going to be here.
Yes, and
You know,
I just want to make sure that people understand the goal here is to definitely keep you safe. That is the overall goal. And so I'm going to give you a quick little snapshot of kind of what that should look like in terms of a playbook. I'm going to ask that our law enforcement leadership get into those meetings with Homeland Security and actually have a sit down and talk about what it looks like for them to provide them with, you know, cohabitation, right? Collaboration, for lack of a better term. And so I'm going to ask that we work together so that, one, those ICE agents who are in our communities, they have direct communication with law enforcement through radios if they haven't already done so, so that we're not having to dial 911. Two, I'm going to ask law enforcement. We're not asking you to actually enforce immigration, because that's not a part of your job, but we are asking that you be present to ensure that that these agents are doing the jobs properly and that our citizens are being held safe. Right. That's an important part, because what's happening is we're sending the message that law enforcement is not a part of it. We're not going to get involved, but we're still being forced to deal with the fallout in our communities. And so it is impacting our citizens. And I do want our citizens to believe that while they're dealing with ICE, that someone's still watching their back to make sure that they're safe. And so we want to send that message, not that we are not involved, but we are involved in the capacity of keeping the citizens of our county and our cities safe, even from ICE, because we've all taken an oath to hold, to protect our country against both foreign and domestic tyranny. And so even though ICE has a job to do, we want to ensure that the job is being done properly, we're documented properly, and that folks are being held accountable when they do bad actions in our communities. And so that's the important part. Again, making sure that you have the resources to get in touch with people to find out where your family members are, understanding the process once a person is in custody, and understand their rights. So here they are, unless they have a warrant for your arrest or know for sure that you are illegally in America and intend to abscond, those are the reasons why you can be arrested without a warrant. Secondly, we want to make sure that if they do have a warrant, that is an administrative warrant or a judicial warrant. And that administrative warrant is most likely signed by a supervisor within the ICE agency itself and has limited authority. And the judicial warrant comes with the full authority of the law and signed by a judge. And so understanding those two differences is very important. And then thirdly, we want to make sure that while you're out in the community, even though it's now considered a hassle, make sure you have either a driver's license, passport, or some form of identification to quickly identify who you are. And then lastly, we're asking that you remain calm, allow these agents to ask you these questions, respond properly so that you can be released and sent home to your family. So I just wanted to make sure that folks understand that we are sending these messages out to keep people safe. And last but not least, I am going to ask our law enforcement leaders as well as our political leaders to make sure you're putting these posters out everywhere so that people can see what their rights are. right? And if you have information that shows what the process is, please put that information out too, so it's readily identifiable and people can see what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, again, this was a special segment. Again, we just want to make sure that we are putting out information that is critical, for your safety. We see just a lot of different things that are out there, and some of this information that's being presented is not helpful. And that's from individuals in our communities, as well as some of the leaders within our county. Some of those leaders are just absent, so we've been doing this. This is what we do every day, so even when we obtain that seat, as Hennepin County Sheriff, nothing's going to change because this is what we've been doing all along, right? The only thing that's going to change is that we're going to bring you along with us, because it is extremely vital that we work together, and make sure that we have this plan, and that this plan is going to be put in place, and that we're going to be able to follow up and follow through, and that we're going to have a fix before we leave that table. And your input is going to have an impact just as well as everybody else's on the overall outcome. So we just want to say thank you, for allowing us to be able to bring this information to you. We hope that it's helpful. Yeah, and I don't know exactly what more, because I don't want to be too winded, because I want to
Right.
make sure that we just kind of stick to
Yeah,
the facts.
education is key. Learn as much as you can about the Constitution and law, understand your rights, and definitely take the time to know what the process is. Like I said, remember, stay calm. Let these agents do what they have to do. Don't give them any reason to assault you. Continue to exercise your First Amendment right, but peacefully. And most importantly, let's organize so that we can change the laws that we feel are being unjustly enforced. And together, let's keep each other safe. Okay.
Absolutely. And before we end this special segment, I have to say again, we can't do this, without the love and the support and the help that we get from CCX Create. Again, we thank you. And we look forward to continue to be able to educate, empower, and enhance the communities, not only here in our own backyard, but those abroad as well. Thank you and have a good night.
My name's Joe Banks.
And I'm Anthijuan Beeks.
And we just talked about it.
Peace.